And we are live. Today, I want to talk about a company that a couple of years ago, almost nobody outside the tech world knew about. And now it finds itself at the center of one of Wall Street's biggest debates. The company is Micron Technology, ticker MU. The question isn't whether Micron had a good day, although it did, incredible. The question is whether the AI boom has fundamentally changed the memory industry. Because if it has, then this story is much bigger than one stock. Micron has surged after analysts dramatically raised expectations for the company. The rally became so powerful that Micron crossed the $1 trillion market cap mark for the first time in its history. That's a lot of money. God, can you imagine making something that has sold a $1 trillion, or that's worth $1 trillion? That is so many billions. It boggles the mind. That's so much money. That's like a stack of hundreds from here to the moon and back, or something like that. I mean, unbelievable. And only a few companies have ever done anything remotely like that, right? That much business. But that shows how aggressively investors are revaluing the AI memory story. And one analyst at UBS raised a price target to $1,625 a share. And Wall Street, ran with that number. When I see a move like that, I'm interested in the reasoning behind it. Why would someone suddenly become that bullish? Bullish, yeah, but that bullish, you know what I mean? And the answer comes down to one word: memory. When people think about AI, they usually think Nvidia. They think GPUs, giant data centers, computing power, is massive, that's needed to train and run AI models. But all of that information, it has to be stored, accessed, moved, processed. And for that, you need memory. Reports say demand for advanced memory remains exceptionally strong as AI infrastructure continues expanding around the world. And right now, there isn't enough product available to satisfy everybody who wants it. So when demand exceeds supply, what happens? Pricing power improves. For decades, memory manufacturers, they struggled with a boom and bust cycle. Business would improve and companies would expand production, supply would flood the market, but then prices would fall, profit would disappear, and then the cycle would start all over again. And investors learned to be skeptical, like, oh, I'm not going to fall for that again. They'd seen that movie before. Been there, done that. I'm not once bitten, twice shy. But now some of the bulls, they argue that AI has changed the script, and instead of temporary demand spikes, they see long-term infrastructure build out, and instead of collapsing prices, they see continued pricing power, and instead of unpredictable earnings, they see greater visibility into future demand. So whether they're right remains to be seen, but the the that's the argument that's driving this enthusiasm behind MU. And this is where the psychology to me becomes interesting, because the stock market isn't a scoreboard for the present. The stock market's a voting machine for the future. I'm voting that I think I'm voting that this company is going to win. This company is going to take off. And I want a piece of the action. Everybody's saying that. Investors aren't buying Micron because of what happened last quarter. Nobody cares. That's ancient history. They're buying it because of what they believe may happen over the next few years, the next several years, the next decade. They're making a prediction, a bet. They're betting on it. They're projecting into the future. And every great bull market starts with a story. And sometimes the story proves true. Sometimes reality falls short. The challenge is distinguishing between genuine change and temporary excitement. Has AI permanently altered the economics of memory? Or are investors projecting today's conditions too far into the future? I don't know, but those are the bookends, and everything else is in between. But those are the two main questions. Who knows? My, I can't. I lost my magic 8 ball, so I don't know. But I do know the fact that Wall Street is even asking the question tells us something really important. That the AI boom may be, and probably is, more broad, wider than many investors realize. Because it's not just about the companies building intelligence, it's also about the companies providing the infrastructure that makes the intelligence possible. Okay, so this is infrastructure build outs, what we're seeing with MU. I mean, unbelievable. If you saw the chart today, man, that thing is unbelievable. And over the last 2 years, incredible. So right now, memory appears to be one of the most important pieces of the puzzle. And the market itself will eventually decide whether the story deserves this level of excitement. Until then, investors are going to just keep doing what they've always done, look into the future, buy into the future, trying to determine what's going to be happening tomorrow before everybody else does. Hey, look, if you enjoyed this video, please help us with the algorithm. It really does help. If you can, subscribe would be fantastic. Share it and check out the website, jackcarterbooks.com. I'll see you next time.